Alright, we're going to work on a 12 pointed star blanket today. I've chosen to use a K 6.5 millimeter hook. I'm going to do this in various what I call jewel tones I have. I'm choosing to start with a magic circle. If you don't want to start with a magic circle, you can choose to start with a chain 4 and then slip stitch it back into the first chain and create a circle that way. So you're going to create your magic circle or your chain 4 circle, chain 2, 1, 2, and that's going to count as your first double crochet, and you're going to do 11 double crochets into the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So counting your first chain 2 and your 11 double crochets, that gives you 12 for your beginning circle, and slip stitch into the top of your chain 2 from your beginning round. Then you're going to chain 2, and you're going to do 2 double crochets into each double crochet stitch from the previous row. So this counts as my first one, so I'm going to do my second one right here. So that's 2. You'll have 24 counting the chain by the time you're done. Four, 6, 8. So I just went ahead and paused the video and went and did the 24. So I've got my 24, which counts my chain 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my chain 2. Now I'm going to change my stitch for this next row. So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to use half doubles on this one. So it's going to be half double in the next stitch, chain 1, half double in that same stitch. Then you're going to skip the next stitch, half double, chain 1, and then a half double. So you're creating miniature V's into every other stitch. So skip this stitch, half double and then one after, chain 1, and a half double into that same stitch, and you'll have 12 V's at the end. Skip the next stitch, you can do half double in the stitch after that one, chain 1, and a half double into that same stitch, chain 1, skip the next stitch, and a stitch after that, half double stitch, chain 1, another half double stitch in that same stitch, skip the next stitch, the one after that, half double stitch, chain one, and a half double stitch into that one as well. So you see, you're getting the spaces where you're skipping, and it's creating little V's. So you're skipping the next stitch. Stitch after that's half double crochet, chain one, half double crochet, that same stitch, skip the next stitch, half double crochet, chain one, half double crochet, skip a stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, chain one, half double crochet, skip a stitch, oops, I dropped it. So when you get to this row, you slip stitch into your chain one from the previous row. Alright, before I continue, I'm just going to briefly show that I already changed into my next color. This is from earlier. I've been practicing with this yarn to try to figure out how I wanted this to look. When I go to change my next color, I'll show you how I did this. This involves using a needle. Hopefully I'll find my straight needle by then. If not, I will show you with a sail needle. And I'll make a separate video later showing you how to do this easier with a straight needle. And that way I won't have to weave in ends, which I do not enjoy. So for this row and every row after, you're always going to slip stitch into a V. That's where you're going to start. So depending on where you end, you're always going to need a slip stitch over to a V. So now I'm going to start with into my V over here, and then I'm going to get back on my thing since I dropped it. Chain two, 1, 2, and I'm going to do 2 double crochets. Remember, my first one counts as a double crochet, so I only need to do 1 more. And chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets. So that chain space from the previous one has the chain space, and then 2 double crochets, or the 1 double crochet, and then a chain 2, and see, I don't like that. Let me cut that real quick. Okay, sorry, I was saying, so with the power cord for my phone. This has the chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and then 2 double crochets. So I got 1, I need the second one into my first chain spot from the previous row. And then I'm going to do that around, so that way in each chain space, I'm going to have 2 double crochets, 2 chains, 2 double crochets. I'm going to do that all the way around. So my next chain space is right here. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 1, 2, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and I'm going to go in my next chain space, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, I'll go to my next chain 2, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, chain 2, then 2 more double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, as you can see, we're starting getting our points of our star. There'll be 12 as we finish this row. So I went ahead and paused it, and you can see I got my 12 points going around as I finished. Now, like I said, you're going to slip stitch to always start in your chain space. So this one I only need to slip stitch one over, and I'm going to chain 2 to start, and each chain space is always going to have 2, so that count 2 sets of 2 double crochet. So the chain space can the chain 2 is my first double crochet. There's my second, and I'm going to chain 1, 2, and my points are going to start getting more defined as well as my valley, and then I'm going to do 2 more into that chain space from the previous row. 1, 2, and now I'm going to start making more of my valleys. So you're going to start adding in your slopes now. So it's going to be 1 double crochet on the slope, skip 2 for your valley, so it's 1 from this side and 1 from this side. You're going to 1 on your slope for the other side, and then you're going to have 2 double crochets into that chain space from the previous row, chain 2, oops, I twisted around as I was pulling more yarn, and 2 more double crochets into that chain space. Then you're going to have 1 double crochet on your slope, skip 2, and 1 double crochet on your slope, and then 2 double crochets in your chain 2 space, then chain 2, and 2 more, then I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to finish up this row. So I'll go ahead and went up and continue on to finish this, the round 5, and you're going to slip stitch it to your chain from the previous one. And in order to start for your next round 2, remember you need to slip stitch over so you can get into a chain space, and then you can chain 2, 1, 2, which counts to your first double crochet. Each chain space gets 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So there's number 2, chain 2, 1, 2, oops, drop my loop, double crochet number 1, and the second one. In our last row, our slope had 1 chain on it. This time it's going to have 2. So there's our first one, and then our next one, and then you skip 2, which starts creating our valley, and you got 2 chains up your slope on the other side, or 2 double crochets up your slope on the other side, 1 and 2, and then you got 2 double crochets into your chain 2 from the previous round, and then you chain 2, 1 and 2, and then 2 double crochets, and then your slope will have 2 double crochets, each in their own stitch, 1, 2, and then you skip 2. Oops, I didn't go to the right stitch. My mistake. There we go. Then you 2 double crochets on the slope of the other one, And then you're back to your chain 2 spot. So you got 2 double crochets. And then a chain 2. And then 2 more double crochets. And you do this around, and I will pause it until I finish this row. Okay, so I got to the end of this round, and it's starting to the point where you're really not able to see on the whole thing on camera, but you can see how the points are, and there's 12 of them. This is not a completed point. We have started in our chain space, so we still need our slope. So our slope is finished on this side, so we need to skip our 2 and create 2 double crochets for our slope on this side. So 1, oops, 1, 2, and then a slip stitch to the top of our chain 2 that we started with. And that is the end of round 3, 4, 5, 6. In the next video, we'll start with round 7 and show the color change.